Hello and welcome to a very special Christmas edition of I Want to Talk About This Album. Why is it special? I don't know, it's really not. Why is it Christmas? Because it's Christmas and because I'm wearing a Christmas themed shirt. I think this is the first time ever in my life that I've worn any Christmas themed clothing of any kind. So that's why it's maybe not, I'm not sure if it's the year end edition or not. Maybe I'll do one more of these in 2022. Maybe not, but so it could also possibly be the year-end edition. And I have to talk a little bit louder today. Maybe I should stand closer. Maybe not that close to the camera. I lost my little clip-on microphone. I have the microphone here, but I lost the little receiver that plugs into the phone that allows the microphone to reach the telephone. I can't find it. I don't know where it is. So I'll have to yell and maybe the sound won't be as good. Maybe it'll be better. I don't think that microphone was the best quality. Anyway, that took 2 minutes to tell you. And I haven't told you what I'm going to talk about, even though you can read it down below. I'm going to talk about Badlands' Voodoo Highway album. This is obviously their second album. Now, if this had been some years ago and I was going to talk about some album, a Badlands album, it almost certainly would have been this one right here. This is their debut album. This came out in 1989. I'm not going to talk about it. I'll maybe refer to it right now, but I'm not going to go through this like I am with Voodoo Highway. I think all along, I always thought this was better. The first album was better than Voodoo Highway, which is right here. There they are side by side. This is the one I'm going to talk about, but right now I'll just make a quick reference to this. This came out in 1989, Badlands. It was, for me, a very much anticipated band or debut album. Obviously, Jake E. Lee, who was in Ozzy. This is the first thing he had done since being cut from Ozzy in, I guess it was 87 or 88. And I saw him I have kind of a long history with Jake E. Lee, not necessarily with Badlands. The first concert I ever saw, I'm sure I've talked about this before, was Ozzy in April. It was April 25th, 1984 on the Bark at the Moon tour in Toronto at Maple Leaf Gardens. Rat was opening. So Rat was really the first band I ever saw. Ozzy was the headliner, of course, and Jake E. Lee was playing with Ozzy at that time. Then I saw Ozzy again, also with Jake E. Lee on the next tour, The Ultimate Sin, and obviously Jake played on that album, Ultimate Sin. That was in, that was the day that Cliff Burton died. That was September, in Toronto time, or Toronto date, it was September 26th, because the time difference, Cliff Burton died in Sweden, was September 27th. So after Jake, who was very highly regarded, I think, after he was cut from Ozzy in 87 or 88. He formed this new band called Badlands, and I knew about it before. Everybody was in all the music magazines, and everybody was, I think, looking forward to it. I was for sure. Which included this guy called Ray Gillen. I'll use this again as a reference. That's Ray right there. He died some years ago in the late 90s or early, mid-90s maybe he died, I think it was. I'm not sure. Who was briefly, very, very briefly in Black Sabbath, and along with Eric Singer, who was also in Black Sabbath for at least one album. I think that was Eternal Idol. And Ray Gillen, I think, sang on what turned out to be Headless Cross, but the version that Ray Gillen sang on, I think was never released, or was released many, many years later as part of a box set or something. I'm not sure. So they were, and the other guy in Badlands is Greg Chason, who is the brother of Kenny Chason of Keel, and I really like Keel too. So this was a highly anticipated album, and going back to what I said a few minutes ago, all along I've thought this is better. It's only been in the last year, and maybe especially the last couple of months, that I've realized I like Voodoo Highway not only more, I like it way more, like almost to the fact that I'm questioning myself. What was I thinking that I like this more? And this is a fantastic album. This is not because this I don't like this anymore. This is because I just woke up to this. As a matter of fact, I would even say at the time this came out, Voodoo Highway, which was in 91, 2 years after the debut, I was actually disappointed in this. And I'm not really sure why. There's not very, very little difference from the first one to this one. But it just took me 30 years to realize that I like Voodoo Highway better. This is maybe... Oh, now hold on. Before I get to the album, I can talk also a little bit about my Badlands history. I did see them once live. There it is. Now this was billed as Jake E. Lee's Badlands, at least on the ticket. On the albums, it was just called Badlands. But on maybe that was the promoters. I don't know if that was a deal they had. But this was at Rock and Roll Heaven, one of my favorite venues ever in Toronto. This is July 21st, 1989. I met Jake E. Lee that night and Eric Singer as well. Jake E. Lee had a broken leg. His leg was in a full cast from like groin to ankle. He played with a busted leg. So I saw Badlands on that tour. Badlands was not around very long. They had these 2 albums and then kind of a third album called Dusk in the late 90s. I think 98 or early 2000s that was, I think, really just demos, never completed before Ray Gillen died. So there's my... Oh, and Sea Hags. Maybe I'll talk about Sea Hags one day. They're, I think, one and only album. I really like Sea Hags, too. There they are. So Badlands and Sea Hags, July 21st, 1989, Toronto, Rock and Roll Heaven. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, I was going to say about Voodoo Highway. It might be, this would be a bold statement, and I'm not even sure if it's true. It might be the best pure sounding album I've ever heard. I can't tell you how much I love the sound of Voodoo Highway. And it's a little bit different, as I mentioned, from the first album. I think that the first album was a little bit more glossy, maybe had a little bit more shine, luster, sheen. I'm not sure, tiny bit. But this Voodoo Highway, it sounds like they just went into the studio. They had a new drummer by this point called Jeff Martin, who is pictured here, replacing Eric Singer, who had gone on to Kiss at that point. It sounds like they just went into the studio, and the first one was kind of like this too, but this one even more. Like they just went into the studio and played. And obviously there are some overdubs and a few extra things, but this sounds just a really, really pure... I hate the word raw, but it sounds like a raw, not in the sense of heavy. It's not that it's heavy. It's just it just sounds like 4 guys playing music, and I really, really like it a lot. This was obviously lumped in with Badlands as a band, and this album, I guess, was lumped in probably unfairly with hair metal, cock rock, whatever you like to call it. Because obviously all 4 of them, they had long hair, and it was of that era. This was late 80s into the early 90s. Although at that point, along with Sea Hags that I just mentioned a few minutes ago, and who else was like that in that time? Law and Order, maybe Dangerous Toys, Circus of Power, maybe. There was kind of Spread Eagle. There was this band that they were hard rock. They weren't metal. They weren't glam. They definitely weren't glam. They weren't like Poison, Cinderella. I don't know, Warrant, Bullet Boys. They were not like that. But they appealed to the same. These bands kind of bridge the gap, I think, between the hair metal and the grunge. They're not grunge. They're not hair metal. They're closer to hair metal than grunge. But I think they were maybe taken more seriously as musicians. I think my friends, and I think in general, people viewed them as more serious musicians. They were focused more on the music maybe than the looks. They didn't wear makeup, Badlands or any of these bands. And Jake E. Lee is, I know a lot of people would probably say this, but I feel like he's, maybe doesn't get the credit he deserves. He's one of my, I kind of known this all along, but I kind of forgot, if that makes sense, that he's one of my favorite guitarists. He was maybe came along too late to be one of my true favorites, like Eddie Van Halen, Ace Frehley, I don't know, guys like that. But from that era, oh my God, Jake E. Lee was just amazing tone, killer riffs. This album especially, I'm sure I'm going to mention this on many of the tracks as I go through it. Just riffs, and you don't really associate riffs with and again, it's not hair metal, but with this style of music, I associate riffs with like, I guess with thrash metal, maybe kind of a doom metal, with Black Sabbath or Trouble or, I don't know. But this album is just full of riffs. You don't associate Warrant or Poison or Cinderella or Bon Jovi with riffs. Maybe Rat you do, but this even more. Every album, every song on this album is just, not every song, but it's just riff, just constantly. And the drums, it's one of my favorite drum albums. The drums sound incredible. I loved Eric Singer's drumming on the first album. And it's not that Jeff Martin is any better or more talented. I don't like that. I don't want to get into that stupid stuff. But I just thought the sound of the drums on Voodoo Highway were just fantastic. The bass too, just very kind of a rumbling. I mean, not in your face, not like Iron Maiden's bass, but just very, very. You know it's there. You can hear it and you can feel it. Ray Gillen is somebody that maybe I didn't appreciate at the time, but looking back on it now, and I've listened to this album a ton in the last. I guess I kind of rediscovered it last year or maybe 2 years ago and listened to it more. And then especially in these last few months, I listened to it a lot. From beginning to end, there have always been all through the decades a few songs I've listened to on a somewhat regular basis, but from beginning to end, I've listened to it a lot lately. Ray Gillen, I've seen many people over the years say like what a voice he was. And I was like, yeah, he's a good singer, but I never would have put him amongst my personal favorites. And that could change. What a voice he has. Just very smooth, but also raspy, rough, very kind of gentle and melodic, but also, very strong and aggressive. Just an amazing voice. It would be amazing to think what that guy would be up to now if he hadn't died in whatever time it was that I said. Maybe he would not be a good singer now. I don't know that. That could happen too. But just all of these guys, Jeff Martin, Greg Chason, Ray Gillen, Jake Lee, put together Badlands, killer band. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to go track by track. And I'd forgotten until recently that I'll start with, there's the track listing, and I'll, now something I noticed about this today, I'll get to the track listing. I don't bring this up very often, or I kind of forget because it's not important, but I used to write, not all the time, but I used to write the dates when I bought the album. And I read about this album, about Voodoo Highway, on Wikipedia just this morning, a couple of hours ago. And it came out on June 7th, 1991. And I don't know if the camera can pick this up. It's kind of faint. But I bought it on June 11th, 1991, so 4 days later. And I'm sure that was back when records used to come out on Tuesdays. Now they come out on Fridays. And so if June 7th, it came out on a Tuesday, this would have been a Saturday, which would have made sense because I often bought my albums either on Friday or Saturday. I would go downtown Toronto, Cheapies, HMV, Sam the Record Man. Don't know, I have no idea where I bought it, but I bought it on a Saturday, 4 days after release. And also I should talk quickly about the album cover. I can't say this is one of my favorite. It's not like a classic cover. I guess in order for something to be considered classic, it has to be, moderately, at least more than moderately successful. And this one didn't do too well. But I love this album cover. It's like a swamp, I guess like a bayou. There's a vulture sitting up here. The moon is shining on the water, I guess, of the bayou. I love the colors. I love the Badlands logo. It's got the moss hanging. Love the album cover. Actually, I like everything about this album. I don't know why it took me so long to realize how good it is. I don't like, as I've mentioned several times, and I hated that it didn't come with lyrics. It just had the credits and the track listing and the thank yous and the liner notes and the running time of each song. And I'm sure the first one also didn't have lyrics. And I always wonder how they decide that. Now, the first one was the same thing, just the track listing there. Yeah, so Badlands didn't have lyrics in their songs, in their CDs. So the first song is The Last Time. Now, I'd forgotten until maybe a couple of weeks ago that they did a video for this, and I was watching something that I don't think I remembered at the time. They had a home video. It used to be popular for bands to do home videos at that time. And they had one called Dag the Giblets. I don't know what that means, and I don't remember watching it or knowing about it at the time, but I came across it on YouTube a few weeks ago. And it also has the video for The Last Time, which that was not in heavy rotation on much music. Dreams in the Dark from the first album got much more play. I don't ever remember hearing Badlands on the radio at all, any song. But The Last Time had a video for it. It was cool. It's only the first song, but it's also one of my favorites from the song. There are, I guess I'll see which I consider to be my number one favorite, but The Last Time is a front runner for sure. Kind of a rocker. I don't know what else to say about it, but amazing, fantastic song. Oh, now Show Me the Way is the next one. That of these two so far, Show Me the Way is my favorite, and that might be tough to beat for my favorite on the whole album. This is and how many bands have a song called Show Me the Way? There's a lot. Somewhat of a ballad. It starts with a nice acoustic guitar, and then comes in, and there's one little part after the first chorus, and then going into a tiny bridge between the first chorus and the second verse. This small, so stupid and insignificant, this little drum thing. I don't know why, but I love that. Show me the way now, baby. Show me the way now, darling. Open up your loving arms. That's the chorus. I don't know why I feel like I always have to sing or say the lyrics, but Show Me the Way. Just a great mix of really nice acoustic guitar into heavy guitar, which reminds me of what's the song on the first album? Winter's Call. Yeah, not a ballad, not a rocker, but somewhere in between. Favorite so far is Show Me the Way. Next is Shine On. Thunderous drum intro to that one. The drums of that one, the intro to that, remind me a little bit of Over the Mountain by Ozzy. I don't know, maybe that's just because maybe that's like a bias because Jake E. Lee played with Ozzy. I know Jake E. Lee didn't play drums, but there's this thunderous drum intro, and then yeah, great riff on this one too, and some of the best pick scraping you'll hear. There's a couple of really good ones, especially I think the first one is just coming into the first verse. Just amazing pick scrapes. Jake E. Lee had the best tone, the best pick scrapes, the best riffs, the best solos. Jake E. Lee is awesome. And there's a line in Shine On. He says, "Oh my Lord, I've been a sinner." And I googled the lyrics when I started to get back into this some months ago. It's, "Oh my Lord, I've been a sinner." And I always thought it was, "Oh my Lord, I've been a singer." Because he's a singer. He's Ray Gillen. He's singing. But it's, "Oh my Lord, I've been a sinner," which actually makes more sense in the context of the song. Not quite a favorite. These three songs, all of them are top notch. Next, Whiskey Dust. This is one, maybe the only one. No, maybe there's one more. Yeah, there's one more that I would say veers a little bit into hair metal territory, which may sound strange because hair metal was about looks, and I'm saying this sounds like hair metal, which is obviously about hearing. But I think there is a relationship between how a band, when you heard a band like Cinderella, you could probably guess how they looked. And if you heard, what song was this? Whiskey Dust? Yeah, Give It To Me One Time. If you heard Whiskey Dust, you might think, oh, these guys are a hair band, which they are not, which we've already established. It's kind of a bluesy, quiet with a kind of a galloping riff. Good song too, and there's nothing wrong with it sounding like hair metal. As I've mentioned many times, Rat is one of my favorite bands ever, and I love Bullet Boys and so many of those other bands. But it does sound like a little bit hair metal style. Next is Joe's Blues, which I only discovered when I read this on Wikipedia this morning, when I read about the release date of this. Joe's Blues, Joe refers to Joe Holmes, who later played with Ozzy. He was at the time this album was made, He was Jake E. Lee's guitar tech, and he went on to Ozzy. So two Ozzy guys, past and a future at that point. And this is classic. This is filler. And I've said before, to me, filler is not bad. It's not good. It's just literally, to me, filler is instrumentals, little short things, little things that bridge two songs together, intros, things like that. Some are good, some are bad. But this, it's just 57 seconds. It's just a little bluesy, acoustic guitar thing that leads into Soul Stealer. Now, Soul Stealer, oh my God, Riff City on that one. Is that a favorite? That's got a heavy. This is as close, I guess, as Badlands got to metal. It's not metal. It's not like Black Sabbath or Iron Maiden, but this is the one song maybe that I would say is heavy. If you could say Whiskey Dust is close to hair metal, Soul Stealer is close to metal. Just this pounding, chugging riff. Nah, I don't know if that would beat out Show Me the Way for my favorite, but it is maybe I'm not going to rank all the songs. It could be my second favorite so far anyway. And then next, I like this one maybe even more than Soul Stealer, and that's 3 Day Funk. This is a very nice, kind of a contrast to Soul Stealer. This is a very light, it's not acoustic, it's not a ballad at all. It is, a rock song. But it has a nice kind of light feel to it. It's summery. The lyrics are kind of a summery song. Remember the time, sunshine in our eyes, we were caught up in the summer shade. Those were the times, like a gentle sleeping baby, we would wash the ocean, wash the sun away. Living free was so easy, honey, honey. Those sort of days never fade away. Round and round, round and round. Time passes by so fast. Beautiful song, very, very nice lyrics. Kind of a little bit of it's got a little bit of a groove to it. It's not funky. It's called 3 Day Funk. Presumably funk, that you're in a funk, you're in a bad mood. But I think for the longest time, 3 Day Funk was my favorite on this album, and still is a top. That's almost all of them, I think, so far that I've said could be a contender for top, but I think I'll stick with Show Me the Way. Silver Horse is another one with kind of an intro like Joe's Blues, although it's not a separate track. It's just kind of a different, and then it goes into, and again, very fucking awesome riff, Silver Horses. Now this is one I remember, I've listened to this recently with headphones, and I mentioned earlier there's something I love about this album, that it sounds like they went in there and just played all together. When I listen to this, especially with headphones, you can hear that there's a very, very, very brief, you can hear where they cut from the intro into the riff. It's all guitar, but the intro into the main riff, it sounds like it was done in 2 takes. That's just my little observation. I could even be wrong. That's possible. I remember I was wrong once. Yeah. I could be wrong and I don't care, but that's just something that I've noticed in listening to it in recent months. Love Don't Mean a Thing. Another just unbelievable riff that starts that. It sounds like Jake just picked up his guitar and just started kind of noodling for 3, 4, 5 seconds, and then he just rips into the riff. And then the song kind of changes when it comes to the intro riffs into the first verse. It's a little bit of a change, but that's maybe my favorite riff on the album, is the intro riff to Love Don't Mean a Thing. I wouldn't talk about this with Warrant or, Bullet Boys. Voodoo Highway's next. I think more kind of filler, although this is more like a legitimate song. It's 2 minutes, 22 seconds. This is an acoustic. I guess it's, it's dobro guitar. I was going to say it's acoustic. Down that Voodoo Highway. It's just a kind of a simple song. Not a favorite. I like it, but now when I say it's not a favorite, that I'm not saying I don't like it. It's just it's not a favorite. It's on the lower half of songs I like, which is hard to do on this album because I want to put all songs in the top half. Next is Fire and Rain. This is a cover of a James Taylor song. At the time that this album came out in 1991 and up to today at this time, it's a cover of James Taylor. I've still never heard James Taylor's version. I don't know if honestly, I don't know if I've ever heard a James Taylor song. I know who he is. I know what he looks like. I know his reputation. And I'm sure I have heard, kind of like when I talked about Earth, Wind, and Fire. There are a lot of Earth, Wind, and Fire songs that I knew. I just didn't know they were Earth, Wind, and Fire. And but I couldn't care less about James Taylor. But this is a good song. It sounds like a Badlands song. I think at the time, I kind of dismissed it because I thought, James Taylor, easy listening, folk rock, yacht rock, whatever you want to classify James Taylor as. But in listening to this again with fresh ears, I think it's actually a very good song, and it sounds like a Badlands song. So I like Fire and Rain. Now here's the other one. Heaven's Trail is the other one that I mentioned, or that I referred to. I alluded briefly to when I was talking about Whiskey Dust. A tiny, tiny bit of hair metal seeps into this. Laughing All Night, Drinking All Night. The lyrically too, I think it has a little bit of hair metal polish to it. Heaven's Train is probably my least favorite song. I still like it. I don't dislike it, but something has to be your least favorite, and I would say Heaven's Train is my least favorite. Now, the last one is In a Dream. This was kind of the reason that made me get back into this album. When I looked at the track list from this a year, 2 years ago, whenever I got back into it, and even more recently, I was looking at the song titles. I thought, In a Dream. I have no idea, no recollection of that song. Haven't any idea what it sounds like. And then when I listened to the whole album and I heard it, it instantly became my favorite song. Now, I'm not saying it's my favorite song better than Show Me the Way, or what else did I say? Soulless, So Stealer, 3-Day Funk, the last time. But at this point, that's the song I listen to. I feel like I listen to it every day. Maybe for the last 6 months or something, I listen to it constantly. I listen to it with headphones. I listen to it on through my speakers. I listen to it in the car. I listen to it loud. I listen to it in bed. I listen to it standing up. I listen to it walking. And there are some songs like this, I don't think I ever listened to it once. It's a short song. I think it's only around 3 minutes, maybe 2.5. 2:13, even less. So, it's very simple, very easy to listen to. And Once Is Never Enough. This is Ray Gillen's song. This showcases what a great singer Ray Gillen is. Oh my God, what a voice that guy has. And I'm sure, again, I don't know, but this sounds like it was done in one take. You can hear him breathe after the first, this song doesn't really have verses or choruses, but after the first kind of verse ends, you can hear him kind of taking a breath, and then there's just some very, very light acoustic guitar. Maybe there's some bass that comes in a little bit later, but it's basically just Ray Gillen singing a cappella. And my God, do I ever love it. What a stunning, no, not a stunning voice. I was going to say stunning song. Just a stunning voice. Stunning, I don't even know what to say. Ray Gillen's voice is just incredible. Now that led me to, one thing leads to another. You watch this or you listen to this and it leads you to something else. I guess I knew it at the time, but I'd totally forgotten because I don't care. This guy called Bo Bice from American Idol, which I've never watched one episode of. Hopefully people that are watching this have also never watched that show. I don't think real music fans watch American Idol. If I sound judgmental, it's because I am. But I don't think American Idol is a show for real music fans. But this guy, Bo Bice, did it in 2002, 3, 4, 5, somewhere around there. And I did remember it at the time, but at the time I wasn't really into that song. So I just saw like in the metal news at the time, oh, this guy on American Idol does In a Dream. And this was before YouTube, so I don't even know if I ever heard it until recently, and I saw it on YouTube. He sings it amazing. Bo Bice, I don't know anything about that guy other than he covered Badlands in a Dream from Voodoo Highway, but he sings it very, very well. I'm gonna go listen to it as soon as I finish doing this in a minute or 8. I'm gonna go listen to In a Dream again. I think the vocals in the song, Ray Gillen's vocals in the song, should be judged on what a great singer is. He's a good hard rock singer. he could be singing this like as a pop song or I don't know, any kind of song. It just sounds incredible. I don't think I'm articulating how well, very well, how I feel about the song, but In a Dream is just incredible. So that's it. That is Badlands Voodoo Highway. Unfortunately, now I never did get Dusk. Dusk was, as I mentioned, released after Ray Gillen died, and it was just demos. And I think there was some legal things to it that it was hard to find. If I found it, if anybody has it, feel free to send it to me. Send me a message, and I'll give you my address, and you can send me Badlands Dusk. I never ask for likes. I never ask for subscriptions. I never tell you to leave the comment down below. I don't ask for donations. I know some people ask for donations or they have a Patreon. What do I ever ask for? Nothing. I give you top-notch entertainment. That's not true. I don't even know if it's entertainment, but at least I give insight. And I know I'm not going to get Dusk, but if I did see Dusk, I would buy it just to complete the trio of the first album, Voodoo Highway, and this one. And I heard Dusk years and years and years ago, probably in the internet age. I'm sure I downloaded it, and it never caught on. Maybe it's time for me to revisit Dusk, just like I did with this one. So I do believe that's all for me for Badlands Voodoo Highway. Maybe for the end of the year. If not, or even if so, have a happy new year. And maybe I don't say it enough. Maybe I should say more. Thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. I know these things only get 80 to maybe a big one might have 200 or 300 or 400 views. I think I had one that got to around 800 or 900. But I don't get a lot of views, but I really enjoy doing it on when I have nothing else to do. It's the day after Christmas. And I think I've worked 15 or 16 consecutive days. I haven't had a day off for a long time. So I think I thought I would take the day off and talk about Badlands, boom, Voodoo Highway.